those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday, happy Juneteenth, a day that we certainly should be honoring and commemorating and remembering, but apparently the Trump administration doesn't want to do that. We'll get to that. Welcome to the program, everybody. The Trump administration wants another 2 weeks. We'll get to that as well. You could be watching, listening on the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, the FM AM dial in Las Vegas, KSHP, my personal YouTube page, just passed 119,000 subscribers. We're going to try to pass 120,000 today at PTL Radio Show. And, of course, the website, pushingthelimits.live. So Caroline, the liar Levitt, just held another press conference in the White House, filled of misinformation, lies, propaganda, you name it, attacking the Joe Biden administration again. So we're going to get to all that. We're going to get to the press conference. And it seems like there's some confusion within the Republican Party where you have some Republicans that are saying, well, there needs to be a regime change in Iran. And then you have others saying, well, they have all these nuclear capabilities. And which one is it? So to get to all this and to discuss this, and of course, the statements that Caroline Levitt made earlier today. It's always a pleasure having him on this show every week. We love the people at Midas Touch, and Ron Filipowski, one of the best in the business, joining us right now. Ron, good to see you again, my friend. How are you?
Good. I was just I just went on Blue Sky to check because JD Vance, opened an account there yesterday, and he blocked me. I didn't try to follow him or nothing. I just went over to Blue Sky and I found out that Vance blocked me. So
what goes through your mind? You have the vice president of the United States. Obviously, everybody knows who you are. You have one of the largest followings, but what goes through your mind with that?
There it is. User blocked, JD Vance. That's his account. So yeah, obviously, he doesn't like me. I'm the one who found that childless cat lady clip among others, and so I was kind of surprised because that account was briefly suspended yesterday because they thought it was an impersonator account, and then they immediately reinstated it. And then all the right wingers were complaining on Twitter that he's being censored by the left, when that wasn't. So I went over there just to see. I wonder how many followers he got, and I found out I was blocked.
I'm wondering, there's a possible war with us and Iran. We know what's going on in the Ukraine and the economy and all these protests everywhere. And on tops of JD Vance's mind, apparently one of the first things he does on Blue Sky is block you.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because when Mike Lindell got reinstated on Twitter, the first day he blocked me. And I didn't even say anything to these people. I didn't go at them. I just went on their page and found out I was blocked. First day Michael Flynn got reinstated, he blocked me. First day Roger Stone got reinstated, he blocked me. And so it's I'm getting blocked on reputation, man. It's not fair.
I don't know, Ron. I think you should wear that as a badge of honor. By the way, those same people, I don't think JD Vance has blocked me, but I think some of those other names like Flynn and Roger Stone have blocked me. But I wear that as a badge of honor because you're doing something right. Before we get into the details with what's going on between Iran and Trump asking for 2 weeks, I do want to talk to you about Juneteenth. Because MAGA Republicans, because MAGA Republicans get very upset when people like us, say that they have racist tendencies. In the last week, as you know, Trump removed a Martin Luther King Jr. statue from the Oval Office, a statue that, correct me if I'm wrong, Barack Obama put there. And now Caroline Levitt has asked, are you guys doing anything to commemorate today, Juneteenth? And the answer is basically no. Right, Ron? What do you make of this?
Yeah, it's not like they have to have a big ceremony or anything. They're not gonna do it like Obama would do it or Biden, but at the very least, you could sign a proclamation. That's all, that's the minimum that a Republican president can do to sort of acknowledge the holiday. But look, you have people like Charlie Kirk that are out there that have called for repealing the Martin Luther King holiday. So, and this one too, by the way. So yeah. And Caroline Levitt also made it a point to note that all their employees, it's a work day for them, so they're all working.
Absolutely.
And I think for Biden, it was they were all non-essential employees were off.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely and positively ridiculous. All right, so let's get into some of the comments that were made today, and we hear this thing again. 2 weeks. We keep hearing that with all these, 90 deals in 90 days and 2 weeks. Trump always wants 2 weeks. And now Caroline Leavitt says that at the press conference today, we're going to give Iran basically 2 weeks. What do you make of this?
This is really strange because, I mean, if you remember, something's going on here behind the scenes politically, not militarily, politically. If you put all the reports together, you can kind of like read between the lines. Remember, he left the G7 summit because supposedly like we're about to go to war and we're about to engage in strikes on Iran. This was a week ago. He leaves the summit now we know that that's not really the real reason why he left the summit. He left the summit because he wasn't going to accomplish anything there,
right?
Because they had an agenda that's much different than his. But so he leaves, but that got everybody in a frenzy. I mean, people are checking their social media like every 5 minutes, like when's the war starting, right? And then nothing happened. So I thought, different time zone. Maybe I'm going to wake up in the morning and the war will have started. Nothing happened again. And then we keep hearing it's about to happen. It's about to happen. The generals are all gung ho and they want to go. Hegseth wants to go. Israel obviously wants us to go. So we were told that, Iran could be hours or days away from developing a nuclear capability, which is a lie. I don't believe that for a millisecond.
Neither does Tulsi Gabbard, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, neither does our own intelligence community, right? But Netanyahu has been saying that for 30 years. So now all of a sudden we've decided to believe that story. But see, the other thing is you got to also distinguish between developing uranium, enriching uranium to be able to develop a bomb, and then having something that can deliver that bomb as a weapon, which is a whole different proposition and takes a lot of time after you've done part one, which they haven't done. So we're being lied to. Again, just like Iraq, it's 2002 all over again. Despite the fact that they don't like the WMD Iraq comparison, there is a lot of parallels here. So if this thing is imminent and they're about to develop a nuclear weapon at any minute, why are we waiting 2 weeks again? I think we're waiting 2 weeks because he doesn't have his people on board politically. His base is divided.
Yes.
And he's trying to use his influencer network. There's been more reporting on that. Charlie Kirk and others are out there trying to win over the base to get them on board for this war.
And Ron, Caroline Leavitt, in a way, was asked about that. Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene say this. What is your response to that? And Leavitt said, well, the president listens to everybody. That's basically what she said. Do you believe, as you just stated, that that's why he's doing this 2 week thing? Because as you said, he wants to get everybody on board, even those on the extreme far fringe right.
I think he wants to get everybody on board. And I think that he is hoping that Iran will cave. That Iran will give in, surrender. But see, here you go. Here's the other problem is, he just tweeted yesterday or posted yesterday, unconditional surrender. And he's got his people talking about regime change. Well, Iran's never going to agree to either of those two things. I mean, they might agree to something along the lines of the Obama nuke deal that he tore up.
Right.
Or something a little bit, maybe even a little bit stricter than that. But they're not going to agree to anything that Trump is talking about. Certainly not regime change. So that's the question is what is the reason? I think it's to delay. See, there's two ways this could play out. We launched the missiles. Yes, that's going to happen. And he's just looking for the right day to do it. But the other problem is, what if it doesn't work? What if this bunker busting bomb isn't successful, which many experts are saying it's very 50-50. Then he looks like even more of a fool. So it's either that or or Iran's going to come with some concepts of a deal, just like his trade deals. That's not a real deal. And he's going to declare victory and say, peace through strength. I did it again. I'm the hero.
Do you believe, Ron, that this is a situation where Israel is inflating their intelligence to use Donald Trump? Or do you actually feel like this is real intelligence that the Israelis have? Because I'm tending to believe Tulsi Gabbard and our own intelligence, which goes to show you that there really are no further capabilities of nuclear capabilities that Iran has. Do you think Israel, and I guess my question is Benjamin Netanyahu, playing Donald Trump, and it's working?
Yeah, I absolutely think that that's the case. Netanyahu has been trying to get the United States to do a strike on Iran's nuclear facilities since 1996. And he has repeatedly given speeches before Congress, on Fox News, on American media over the years, claiming that they're about to come out with a nuke at any day now for 30 years.
Right.
And so our Tulsi Gabbard, our DNI, testified in March before Congress, and she said the consensus of our intelligence community is they are 3 years away, and they are not currently actively trying to accelerate that process.
Mm-hmm.
So now when confronted with Gabbard's testimony, which was not her opinion, she was only on the job for a few weeks. She was just reading what our intelligence community had. Okay. So what their excuse is that things have changed, that in the last 2 months, supposedly since that testimony, Iran has sped up their program so much that they've accelerated their program that it's now imminent. It went from 3 years to like 2 months. I mean,
Nonsense.
come on.
Nonsense.
So
Ron,
when you look at everything together, when you look at Netanyahu, who's, things are winding, Netanyahu is extremely unpopular in Israel. He's facing criminal prosecution for corruption, but he has immunity as president. And the only thing that's keeping him in power is war. So he knows once the conflict in Gaza is over, they're going to call for elections and he's out of office.
Right.
So now that war is winding down, he's trying to start a new one, I believe.
I tend to agree with you. Ron, as somebody like yourself who served this country honorably, can you explain to the American people how dangerous this is if, in fact, we do get involved with this war between us, Israel, and Iran? How dangerous this is?
Because this is a country of 80 million people, Iran. This is not Afghanistan. This is a country that can strike throughout the world, that has Iranian people, citizens in countries all over the world, especially Canada. There's a lot of Iranians in Canada. And it's not difficult to cross our border in the northern border. So my concern, people just look at this like a conventional situation. They only look at the threat of Iran striking our military bases, which is certainly a problem. Here's what can happen. War with Iran, first of all, will spike oil prices and globally. They will go up dramatically. If we strike their oil facilities, that's going to make it even worse. And that's also going to help Russia, because the low prices of oil globally right now is what's really killing Russia's ability to fund their war machine. So if oil prices go up because of lack of supply coming out of Iran, that directly benefits Russia, hurts Ukraine, hurts Europe, hurts the world. They could also close the Straits of Hormuz easily, which is a major, shipping lane that they control. So they can do that. They can strike our military bases. But so all of those things are things that people worry about. But what I worry about, even more than those things, is a terrorist attack on U.S. soil conducted by the Iranians, and a big one. And what will happen if that does happen? What the Trump administration is going to do? They're going to blame it on Biden.
Of course, just like everything else. I completely 100% agree with you. Ultimately, what do you think will happen in 2 weeks? Do you actually think that Donald Trump will, for lack of a better term, pull the trigger and will be working with Israel and, we'll be flying missiles? Do you actually believe that this will actually happen and the U.S. will get involved here and Trump will make that decision? Or do you believe that he will take a few steps back and just allow Israel to do their thing? What do you think is going to happen here?
Yeah, I think that you can really look to the trade stuff as a roadmap for how he's handling this situation. If Iran chooses the path of Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico, which is basically like throw out some kind of olive branch face-saving thing for Trump to allow him to declare that he won, that he achieved a victory, then I think that there is a chance that this will not happen. But that would have to take Iran would have to be willing to publicly state that they are making concessions. I'm not so sure that they can do that for their own people domestically, that their own people will accept that. And I'm not talking about everybody in Iran, because there's certainly many people in Iran that hate the regime.
Yeah.
But if Iran chooses the path of China and President Xi in trade negotiations, which is to basically just say, no, we're not making any deal, we're not making any public statements, we're not making any concessions, then I think that this goes forward and it escalates rather quickly. That's the other thing, is that some of the Republicans who have gotten on board for this think it's going to be like a surgical strike. You know, we're going to take out the Ayatollah, we're going to take out the nuke facility, and that's it. They'll surrender and we win. It's not going to work like that. That's what they said about Iraq. That's what they said about Afghanistan. Here we go again.
Yeah, let's hope this doesn't happen. But I think there's
let's not forget, George W. Bush was on an aircraft carrier declaring mission accomplished.
Right.
A month after we went into Iraq. 20 years later, we were still there.
Yep, that's true. We certainly don't want that to repeat itself. That's for sure. I want to read a tweet that you put out, which is interesting and true. You said inflation is up, prices are rising, interest rates are up, the GDP is down. We're going to war with Iran, but the good news is Trump had 2 new flagpoles put up at the White House today. Some of very large right-wing people that even work in Trump's administration are bragging about this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Sebastian Gorka was one of them. What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, I just said how concerned I am about Iran launching a terror attack in the United States. Who is the person who is in charge of stopping that? It's Sebastian Gorka, who is grossly unqualified for the job, has no qualifications. He was a podcaster and a Newsmax host, and a low-level Trump appointee who was fired during his first administration. So now he's back, and he's in charge of counterterrorism for the United States. And so with this threat out there, you know, I'll check his Twitter account, and what's he doing? He's posting about these damn flagpoles that got put up. I'm like, dude, can you know, we got Hegseth running around doing push-ups on military bases, the Secretary of Defense. We got the head of counterterrorism posting about flagpoles. Trump, by the way, was complaining that he hasn't been able to play as much golf. He said at the flag unveiling ceremony on the White House lawn that he has won 35 club championships at his own club, of course, right? Sure. And he's worried that he hasn't been able to play golf in 3 weeks. So his streak of championships might be in jeopardy this year because he's out of practice. Very serious people.
Unbelievable. Sick. Speaking of unserious people, I do want to ask you about Mike Lee. We haven't talked since this whole thing took place with this horrific tweet that he put out. So he takes down the tweet. He dodges the media the other day, won't answer any questions about it. Keyboard tough guy warrior. What do you make of this guy, Mike Lee? Because, you know, if this was anybody with a normal job who did something like this, they'd be fired on the spot. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I tried to, I think that one of his Achilles heels, I mean, maybe not, maybe not. I mean, I'm wrong on this stuff sometimes, but is the Mormon Church. So when he did this, I tagged the Mormon Church. You know, I said, you know, this is your guy. This is probably right now, the most senior person in the U.S. government who is a Mormon after Romney left, right? So this is your boy. You know, this is your guy. His father was an elder of the church. His father was the dean of BYU Law School. His brother was a state Supreme Court justice in Utah. So I thought, you know, if there's anybody that could talk some sense into this maniac, it could be his church. You know, I don't know. I don't know how much of a practicing Mormon he is. So he took the post down, but he still has not apologized. And by the way, who was the first person who launched the conspiracy on Twitter that JD Vance's Blue Sky account was banned, it was Mike Lee. So he learned a whole lot. He was right back at it, launching more conspiracies. And look, this is not a one-off. This guy's been doing this stuff for a few years now. He's really become one of these psychotic social media posters.
Mm-hmm.
I said, this guy has had every advantage in life. He's born into a wealthy, politically connected family whose dad was the dean of the law school when he was a student there. He literally was born on third base and thought he hit a triple. This guy has had everything handed to him and led the easiest path in life any human being on earth could possibly have. But instead of being a distinguished U.S. senator like a Mitt Romney, he has chosen to be cat turd. That's who he wants to be, a right-wing social media kook. He wants to be Alex Jones now.
Despicable. I have to ask you quickly about Kristi Noem. We learned that she was taken by ambulance to the hospital. We've heard rumors of some sort of allergic reaction. Have you heard anything about what took place here, and why are people in the Trump administration being so mum about this?
Well, this came right immediately after she was visiting a bioweapons laboratory, which is a little unusual. You would think that they would, of course, take maximum precautions as she was touring the facility with RFK Jr. I mean, anybody who's around RFK Jr. could have an allergic reaction in some way. I don't know if you saw this story where he was just visiting a tanning bed in DC. He got caught coming out of a tanning salon. just like, guy's 71 years old. He's going to a tanning salon. Like, what a freaking nut. So he takes her to visit this bioweapon lab because he's probably against bioweapons, I'm sure, and probably wants to shut it down. And next thing you know, she's being rushed to the hospital with a quote unquote allergic reaction. The problem with this and with Iran and with everything else is this administration lies to us so much about just mundane, routine things that we obviously can easily prove is true. Like, right. They just said that there was 250,000 people at his parade in DC, right? I mean, everyone can look at that and say, it's not even 10% of that. Like, this is a complete lie.
Yep.
So when they lie to us about everything, and then, a story comes out, she got rushed to the hospital for an allergic reaction. Everybody, of course, naturally thinks like, well, what's the real story? Because we just can't believe them about anything anymore.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I guess this would be my last question for you, Ron.
You're turning me into a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You're the left version of
and I'm not.
Which is ridiculous. If
I think Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, man. I mean, I'm like the only one left. And now they're turning me into a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, crazy, by the way. You'd be the last person that I would call that. It's interesting, Ron, because people like you and me, the right would call us warmongers because we were in support of Ukraine, right? We support Ukraine, our allies, and obviously what Vladimir Putin has done and continues to do. We were the warmongers. But now, all of a sudden, where are those people? Where are those people that still support Donald Trump? Where are they? We were the warmongers. So what do you call Donald Trump now? Where are those people? Because they called us warmongers.
And we were supporting a country that had been invaded.
Right.
Iran has not invaded Israel. Israel started this. Now they're trying to characterize it as this was an offensive defensive action that they had to do a preemptive strike, right? Come on. By us supporting a country that's been invaded is far less of a warmonger because, Ukraine was not attacking Russia. They were defending themselves than this situation. But I find most disturbing is the religious angle of this.
Yeah.
Which is what we have heard from Ted Cruz and many others.
Yeah. What did you make of that Tucker Carlson interview, by the way? I wanted to ask you about
it. It was bizarre. I mean, I fell out of my chair because I have heard this in the past. They're citing this passage from Genesis. And you hear this a lot with the right-wing influencers and podcasters. I have heard this for years about Israel from them, which is there's a passage in Genesis that basically says that it's a duty of Christians to defend God's chosen people, defend the people of Israel, of Judea, et cetera, et cetera. And if we don't, we will be basically condemned to hell, right? So that's a passage in Genesis. And they cite that as a reason why Huckabee is another one who's done this, who is our U.S. ambassador to Israel. They're citing a Bible passage in Genesis as their reason for why we need to go to war with Iran. So, it's one thing for like evangelicals and pastors to say that, which they have said for years. I've heard them say this stuff for years. But when Ted Cruz said it, I kind of fell out of my chair a little bit. Like, a U.S. senator is now going to push the biblical angle that we have to go to war with Iran because the Bible tells us to. When the Bible was compiled in the 4th century, there wasn't even an Israel in existence. It didn't even, Judea had been annihilated, been destroyed by the Romans. It didn't even exist. And certainly there was no state of Israel. So the idea that we have to go along with whatever Benjamin Netanyahu decides because of a passage in Genesis is total insanity to me. But that's what they're saying.
I wonder if it says anything in the Bible about flying to Cancun when your entire state is in a state of emergency, and then blame your kids for it. I wonder if there's anything in the Bible about that. I would ask Ted Cruz about that. Ron,
deporting children.
Yeah, exactly. Some with cancer, 4-year-olds. Yeah, I wonder if it says anything, if they really want to talk about the Bible. I wonder if it says anything in the Bible about, made in China for $3, sold for $60. We can go on and on there. Hey, before I let you go, Ron, what are you working on your Substack today? What article do you have coming out?
Oh man. Let's see. What was I? That's a good question. India. I'm working on India right now. The Indian Foreign Secretary just issued a stinging rebuke of
I have the audio of that.
Trump.
Yep.
Yeah, where they called him a liar. They said, this story that he keeps. I think they let him get away with it once. They let him claim that he brokered the peace deal between India and Pakistan, and they kind of because they didn't want to really make waves, they kind of let it go. But Trump keeps saying it over and over again, and I think finally they just had enough. And also, it doesn't help the fact that trade talks between the U.S. and India have completely fallen apart. There's not going to be any trade deal with India anytime soon, despite the fact that the Trump administration continues to say it's like any day now. The Indians are saying we're not close and we're not even talking, right? So I think they just had enough, and the foreign secretary came out and said, look, when Trump said that he brokered the peace deal, he's lying. They had nothing to do with it. And when Trump is saying we're close to a trade deal, he's lying about that too. We're not even speaking. So it's very, very unusual for a country like India, a huge country who is U.S. friendly, with lots of trade, to make a statement like that about the American president is very unusual. They just had enough. So that's kind of what I've been writing about today.
I can't wait to read that. Basically, publicly calling Donald Trump a liar. This is pretty much unprecedented territory, at least when India is concerned. So I look forward to reading that article. Ron, you're the best. Appreciate your time as always, my friend. We'll catch up with you soon. Have a great weekend.
Okay. See you, Brian.
Thank you. Ron Filipkowski, everybody, one of the best in the business. And yes, as my headphones unplug here, I really look forward to reading that article. And yes, we do have that audio to play for you where basically India's calling Donald Trump a liar. So we'll play that audio for you. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a quick 90-second break. And that's about 84 seconds more than Donald Trump lasted with Stormy Daniels. But that's another story for my producer to like that joke. Rarely do I ever get him to laugh, but he did like that one. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be playing some audio for you from Caroline, the lying fake Christian Levette, who held a press conference this morning filled with lies. We are also going to play you India's foreign secretary, who Ron Filipkowski just spoke of, basically calling Donald Trump a liar. We have the audio to prove it for you. This is unprecedented stuff. So we're going to play that for you as well. And we will take some phone calls on the other side. So a quick 90-second break. We'll be back with that audio and your phone calls next. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knock. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Kelb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Kelb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NICOLE, MITCHELL.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. So obviously, a very busy news day, to say the least. And we have all the breaking news for you. We will be taking calls coming up here in just a few minutes. So Caroline Leavitt, as I like to call Caroline, the lying bitch Leavitt. And if people don't like that type of strong language, I could care less, because the people who don't like that kind of language are probably the same people that have no problem with Donald Trump bragging about sexual assault, attacking Gold Star families and POWs and our brave men and women in uniform. So I could give two flying Fs if you guys don't like my language, because that's what she is. She is a lying, fake Christian bitch is what she is. She's dangerous for the country. She lies to the American people every day. And I again, have the proof, which is in the pudding, every time she reaches the podium. And today was no different. So Leavitt was asked, again, the lying bitch, Caroline Leavitt, was asked about military action and will the president go to Congress to seek war authority, which we know is the law of the land, right? We know that that's what the president is supposed to do. And I want you to listen to this moron and this lying piece of human scum answer this question. Have a listen.
The U.S. were to take some type of military action, would the president go to Congress to seek war authority?
I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals. I gave you the statement from the president. He'll make a decision within 2 weeks.
Thank you, Carol.
Sure. Go ahead.
I'm not going to speak in hypotheticals. So if we ask you, is the president going to abide by the rule of law? Would the response be, I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals? No. You are supposed to go to Congress to seek the authority to go to war. That answer tells you right there that they are not going to do that. I guarantee you, if in fact this does happen, which I believe it probably will, he will not go to Congress. He will skip Congress. He will walk all over Congress, just like he did with the Supreme Court with Mr. Garcia. I'm not going to speak in hypotheticals. So if we ask you the question, are you going to abide by our Constitution? I'm not going to speak in hypotheticals. It's just such a ridiculous response, and it's so embarrassing from the lying, fake Christian bitch, Caroline Leavitt. And then the question is asked, basically, Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene, is he hearing their voices, and could that have anything to do with this 2-week delay?
like that.
Thank you. To what extent is this 2-week delay with Iran the result of interventions by the likes of Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, or the entreaties of European leaders who want a de-escalation?
Look, the president hears all voices across the country, and he makes decisions based on his instincts. And he has always said diplomacy is his first option.
And is he still planning to attend the NATO summit next week?
He is, yes. We will be departing from Washington on Monday morning, and hopefully we'll see some of you there. Michaela.
Yeah, wonderful instincts that Donald Trump has. Have a listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson to help make your decision on foreign policy. By the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the same person who doesn't even read bills that she votes on. Tucker Carlson, the right-wing propagandist who was even fired from Fox News because he was so crazy to the right and nutty. But he is correct when it comes to this situation in Iran. And then comes Jasmine Crockett, who it seems like anybody in the Trump administration have a serious problem with any powerful women that happen to be black, Jasmine Crockett being one of them, who speaks out on Donald Trump regularly. Now, she made a statement, there is some context to it, that a lot of Trump supporters are mentally ill. I would actually agree with that wholeheartedly because I've had personal interactions with some of them. They are mentally ill. I had a personal interaction with someone who's a TV person who works in Las Vegas, who I believe is mentally ill because he's so pro-Donald Trump. And listen to Caroline Levette's response to this question.
Really quick on Jasmine Crockett. She said, I believe, that Trump supporters are mentally ill before calling for bipartisan support against the president. Can you respond to that, especially considering she's a rising star in the Democrat Party right now?
She is a rising star. It's quite something to behold, actually. I hope that she continues to be a rising star for the Republican Party, at least. I think it's incredibly derogatory to accuse nearly 80 million Americans of mental illness. The last time I checked, Jasmine Crockett couldn't dream of winning such a majority of the public as President Trump did. And the America First movement, which President Trump has built, is filled of hardworking patriots, the forgotten men and women, business owners, law enforcement officers, nurses and teachers, and middle America, as we all know, from where you all grew up outside of this beltway. That's who makes up this president's movement. And Jasmine Crockett should go to a Trump rally sometime and she can see it for herself. Jennifer.
Oh, okay. Well, guess what? I've been to Trump rallies. I saw it for myself. I saw a lot of hatred. I saw a lot of bigotry. I saw signs like F, Joe, and the Ho. I saw people selling Bibles, Trump trading cards, Trump condoms, Trump gold sneakers, 99% white, with a lot of anger and with a lot of hatred. I saw it firsthand. I went to multiple Trump rallies, Caroline. And I went to Kamala Harris rallies, and I saw a lot of love. I saw people from all different types of races, sexuality. And it was a message of positivity. 49% of people who voted decided to vote for Donald Trump. I still don't seem to understand it, especially when you see all the No Kings rallies across the country, tens of millions of people. But it is what it is. But you see, they see somebody like Jasmine Crockett, who is a obviously educated, intelligent, outspoken, powerful black woman. And somebody like Caroline Levette is not used to that. Certainly Donald Trump doesn't want that. And many of Donald Trump's supporters don't want that. But if you want to talk about being derogatory to, 80 million Americans, which is what Caroline Levette suggested Jasmine Crockett was doing, what about Donald Trump when he said, if you're Jewish and you don't vote for me, you need to get your head examined? What about Charlie Kirk, who said, you're not a true Christian if you don't support Donald Trump? What about those comments? I guess those comments are totally okay as long as it's pro-Trump and anti-anybody who doesn't vote for Donald Trump. But if there's anything derogatory, in this case, I would say what Jasmine Crockett said was true about many Trump supporters. All of a sudden, Caroline Levette has a problem with derogatory. Well, what about when Donald Trump attacks women on looks? When he did that to Ted Cruz's wife and others? What about when Donald Trump said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured? Would you consider that derogatory? All the statements that Donald Trump made about those who accused him of abuse, like E. Jean Carroll, was that derogatory? You see, Donald Trump makes derogatory comments about anyone he disagrees with on a daily basis, including Governor Tim Walz in Minnesota, after the horrible tragedy that took place where innocent people lost their lives. And then Donald Trump said he refused to even pick up the phone. He calls people names. He calls people stupid on a daily basis, even some people in his own administration at times that he's done in the past. But all of a sudden now, we are supposed to listen to Caroline Leavitt, and all of a sudden the Trump administration has a problem with people supposedly making derogatory comments. No, let me be very clear. At this time, if you still support Donald Trump today, and you have no problem with what's going on in this country, you have no problem with the fact that inflation is up, gas prices are up, GDP is down, and if you have no problem with the fact that he might be getting us into a war, in this case with Iran, if you have no problem with what's going on in Ukraine and people in this country that are not getting due process, persons, as it says in our Constitution, if you have no problem with any of this stuff, then you are mentally ill. Let me be very clear on that. And I support Jasmine Crockett, and I support what she said. At this point, if you are still all in with Donald Trump, there is something wrong with you. And you're the one who needs to get your head examined. But you see, the problem now with the possibility of us going to war with Iran is that we don't even know what the objective is. We hear from some Republicans and people like Donald Trump is they have nuclear capabilities, which, by the way, we've been hearing for decades from Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's claiming they have these nuclear capabilities. Yet, people in Donald Trump's own administration, like Tulsi Gabbard, who testified under oath in March, said that wasn't the case. And then you have GOP senators like Tom Tillis, who was asked about the possibility of going to war in Iran. And it's interesting because Tillis didn't mention weapons of mass destruction. He didn't mention weaponry. Here's what Tillis had to say.
Time for regime change. And I believe that this president should be given a fair amount of leeway to affect that.
Did you hear anything from the senator about weaponry? No. He said it's about regime change. So which one is it? You have a part of the Republican MAGA base that say it's about regime change. You have another part of the Republican base that say, oh, this is about weapons, their weaponry, their nuclear capabilities. You have Tulsi Gabbard, who testified under oath 2 months ago that they had no intelligence that they were working on nuclear weapons or that they were improving on that. She testified under oath in saying that. And I find it interesting that Gabbard has not been put in front of the media the last few weeks, and she wasn't even invited to some of these meetings, somebody who's in Donald Trump's administration. So which one is it? Well, I'm going to tell you what I think is going on right now. I believe that Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu is giving Donald Trump faulty intelligence, or maybe exaggerating their intelligence, to get Donald Trump to get involved in this war. Why do I say that? This is something that Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying for years. This is something that the Israeli government has been saying for decades about Iran's nuclear capabilities. I'm not defending Iran. Listen, they harbor terrorists. I understand that. But going to war with them is a completely different level. This is Israel's war. This is not our war. And I believe Israel is conflating their intelligence to use Donald Trump as a pawn to get him involved in this war. That's exactly what I think is going on here. And if, in fact, the U.S. does decide to get involved and Donald Trump pulls the trigger, for lack of a better term, then we are all in a worse situation than we were before. And the chances of another U.S. attack on our soil are far greater if Donald Trump decides to get involved here, which I believe he might just do. Israel has, in my opinion, inflated or conflated, whatever word you want to use, their intelligence, which I don't think has changed. And I don't think in the last 2 months, all of a sudden things have changed either. Tulsi Gabbard was telling the truth. It wasn't her opinion. It was based on our own intelligence. And Donald Trump seems to just wipe that off to the side and believe anything and everything that Benjamin Netanyahu tells him. That's why he's so dangerous, one of many reasons. Now, another reason why Donald Trump is so dangerous is because he's so ignorant. He's talking about these undetectable planes, something that he said a few years ago he was gravely against, and he's trying to explain to us information about stealth technology, something that we've known, at least most of us, for 40 years. And now he's trying to explain to us what it is. Have a listen to this.
Yeah, we have the best military equipment in the world. You see that with this fight. We have planes that are undetectable, flying around like, nobody's able to see them stealth. You guys want to be stealthy tonight. You can be stealth, you'll never lose, right? But these are incredible planes and weapons. We have the best weapons in the world.
Yeah, thanks for that info, Donnie. Time to go to bed now. Have your milk and cookies. We've known about stealth planes for over 40 years. We don't need your explanation. By the way, it was just a few years ago that you were against these stealth planes. We have you on record on audio saying that, but now all of a sudden you're totally okay with it, and you have to give like some sort of history lesson on stealth planes as if most people don't know what you're talking about. I think the person that doesn't know what they're talking about is you. And of course, we've heard 90 deals in 90 days. How many days has it been now? I think we're in the 60s. Is it 64 days? How many deals have been made? Oh, but we hear from the Trump administration, deals on the table. They're kissing our ass. We hear that over and over and over again. How many deals have been made again? Tell me about that deal with China you made. Well, Donald Trump was trying to take credit for a deal that was made with India, and we learned that that was a lie. And who did we hear that from? Well, this is unprecedented. India are allies, and India's foreign secretary, Vikram Misri, absolutely obliviated Donald Trump with a claim that he brokered this peace deal between India and Pakistan, which is a blatant lie. And we learned from India's foreign secretary that Trump was lying. Have a listen to this.
I think the deal I'm most proud of is the fact that we're dealing with India, we're dealing with Pakistan, and we were able to stop potentially a nuclear war through trade as opposed through bullets. Normally they do it through bullets. We do it through trade. So I'm very proud of that.
प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने Prime Minister Modi clearly told President Trump that during this entire episode, there was never any discussion at any level about an India-US trade deal or US mediation between India and Pakistan. The discussion to halt military action occurred directly between India and Pakistan through existing channels between both armies and was made at Pakistan's request. Prime Minister Modi firmly stated that India has neither accepted mediation nor does it do so and never will do. There is complete political unanimity on this subject in India. President Trump understood the details explained by the Prime Minister and expressed support for India's fight against terrorism. Prime Minister Modi also said that India now sees terrorism not as a proxy war, but as a war.
So there you go. India's foreign secretary calling Donald Trump a liar, saying that Donald Trump had nothing to do with this peace deal between India and Pakistan. Donald Trump is lying about it. This is unprecedented territory. When you have world leaders in other countries that are calling our president a liar, which we know that Donald Trump is, he lies about everything. But there are no deals put in place. We were told 90 deals in 90 days. Donald Trump wants to take credit for anything and everything. And then when things don't go his way, like the economy, like wars all over the world, he wants to blame Joe Biden or Pete Buttigieg or Barack Obama. And yet there are people out there that still buy into his BS. It's incredible to me. So we've talked about a lot on this show, and now's your chance to chime in. Trump supporter or not, I will take your phone call. Here's what we are talking about. And by the way, the number to call is 702-221-7283. Those of you that are watching on social media, this is the only avenue besides writing statements. This is your only avenue where you can actually call in and have a discussion with me. The number is 702-221-7283. So we had Caroline the Liar Levette, who held a press conference today, now claiming Donald Trump wants another 2 weeks. You also have Caroline Levette saying that she refuses, well, in other words, she said they're not going to be doing anything for Juneteenth to commemorate this day, which is obviously a very important day. And this comes about a week after Donald Trump removed a Martin Luther King Jr. statue out of the Oval Office. Why would he do that? The same statue that Barack Obama put in there. We know who Martin Luther King is. We know his accomplishments. We know what he did for the civil rights movement. Donald Trump removes that from the Oval Office. And then they wonder why we called Donald Trump and members of his administration a racist oligarchy and a dictatorship. This is why. They won't even sign a proclamation or do anything on Juneteenth. Nothing. These are the same people that want to get rid of Gay Pride Month. These are the same people that want to get rid of books and attack transgenders. These are the same people like Sebastian Gorka, who tweet on social media today, new flagpoles put in the White House. Meanwhile, we might be going to war with Iran. I mean, these are sick people, and this is sick stuff. So those are some of the topics that we are talking about today. We're going to open up the phone lines now at 702-221-7283, which is the number to call. Also remind all of you, we are in the YouTube Super Chat. And what that means is with a donation in the YouTube Super Chat, your questions and comments will be read live on the air by yours truly. Also, of course, my website, which is pushingthelimits.live, where you can buy PTL merchandise. We're an independently owned radio show, so we appreciate your support. Pushingthelimits.live. All right, let's get right down to it, and let's get to the phone calls. Let's start with Sean. Sean is first up on PTL. What's up, Sean?
Hey, Brian. I've been watching you for a couple, 3 days now, and I'm very impressed.
Oh, well, thank you.
I am a 10-year Army vet. I have been in the VA system for going on 35 years. I'm a student of history, and I want to say that since Korea, the GOP has started every major and most minor conflicts. And now they want to talk about, they're getting us into this mess, and now they want to talk about cutting the VA budget.
I want to ask you about that. And by the way, thank
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your service. You're a hero. Isn't it interesting that they want to cut the VA budget? You're absolutely right about that. And they want to send people to war. When I say they, I mean Donald Trump and some of his cronies on a whim. And doesn't this remind you, as it reminds me, of the war in Iraq, where George W. Bush told us that they had weapons of mass destruction? To me, it's simply the same thing all over again.
Yeah, definitely. And that's another thing about history, is they have not learned anything from history or military history at all. I mean, look how they deployed troops in Afghanistan, like outposts, like Vietnam.
I got to tell you this right now. And by the way, thank you so much for your service to this country, sir. You're a hero, and I'm honored that you listen to the show. And thank you so much for calling in. You're welcome to any time. Isn't it interesting that Donald Trump and his administration will call in the military for protests that are taking place in LA? And isn't it interesting that they have no problem, and they will have no problem, just like George W. Bush did, in deploying our own military, where we lost thousands of innocent soldiers, brave men and women in uniform, because we were lied to. I don't believe it was faulty intelligence. We were lied to. I believe Israel is lying to Donald Trump. And I don't believe Donald Trump cares. I do not believe that there is any real evidence to show that Iran has furthered their nuclear capabilities. I believe Tulsi Gabbard was telling the truth, our own intelligence. And I believe Israel is lying. And they just want Donald Trump and America's involvement to wipe Iran off the face of the earth. That's what I think is going on here. And by the way, I'm pro-Israel. I thought what happened with Hamas was despicable and disgusting. But as I've always said, and I will continue to say, because I've been very consistent on this, any innocent human being that loses their life in Gaza, any innocent person, no matter where they're from, whether it's in Israel, whether it's in Gaza, wherever it is, anywhere in the world, are equally as bad. And I want bad people taken out. Of course I do. But that doesn't mean that the U.S. should be getting involved, going on a whim, because Benjamin Netanyahu says, oh, yeah, our intelligence says blah, 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 blah. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. Israel has the right to exist. But we should not be getting involved in their war. This is their war, not ours. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Frank. Frank is next up on PTL. What's up, Frank?
What's up, Brian? How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
I don't trust Netanyahu for nothing. He's just like Trump. He will lie to you in front of your face. He will demoralize his own people. So I don't trust him. And did you see that the Supreme Court gave Donald Trump more immunity and can convey tribunals, to people prosecuted?
Well, here's what I will do. And by the way, I agree with your sentiment of what you said there. I don't trust Benjamin Netanyahu either. There is a way where you can be pro-Israel and not be pro-Benjamin Netanyahu. Let me be very clear. Benjamin Netanyahu has been terrible for Israel. Terrible. He has not protected his own people. Now, he very well might have their best interest in his heart. I don't know what's in his heart. He has been a bad leader for Israel, and someone else needs to get in there. So that's my opinion on that, number one. I agree with what you said. I don't believe them. Why is it that our own intelligence tells us, according to Tulsi Gabbard 2 months ago, testifying under oath, that they do not believe that Iran has furthered nuclear capabilities, but yet we're hearing something different from Israel? Why is that? Well, it's a pretty simple, reasonable response to that, which is because they want Donald Trump and the United States to get involved in this war because that will benefit them. I believe they are playing Donald Trump in a similar fashion to the way Vladimir Putin has been playing Donald Trump for years. Number to call if you want to be a part of the program, 702-221-7283. And I want to ask you guys this question also, because I think this is important. On Juneteenth, we should be remembering those that were lost and the importance of this day in history. What do you guys make of the fact that Donald Trump and his administration are doing absolutely nothing today? And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. No signed proclamation, nothing. And do you think it's a coincidence that they're doing nothing for Juneteenth? And they've talked about getting rid of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. They've talked about getting rid of Gay Pride Month. But do you find it interesting that it's the same week where Donald Trump removed a Martin Luther King Jr. bronze statue in the Oval Office that Barack Obama put there? Do you find that interesting? You see, when I say that this is a racist administration and they're bigoted in nature, these are the reasons why. I don't just throw things out there and hope it sticks. I have receipts to back it up. Why would you get rid of a Martin Luther King statue in the Oval Office? Why would you not at least make a statement or some sort of proclamation, today being Juneteenth? Why wouldn't you do that? The only reasonable explanation that I could come up with is it's make America white again. And Donald Trump is racist, and there are bigots that work for Donald Trump. That's the only reason why I could think anybody would do anything like that. Am I wrong? 702-221-7283 is the number to call. The YouTube super chat. We go where Shelley says, I believe that Israel and Russia are playing Trump and they know how to do it. I completely agree with you, Shelley. Donald Trump is a very easy person to manipulate. We know that. Stormy Daniels was able to manipulate him for $130,000 in under 13 seconds. So I certainly agree with you there. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's get back to the phone lines, if I may. And let's see, who are we going to go to next year on the phone lines? Besides going back to the YouTube super chat, Kathy says Grandpa Taco can resign so he can play all the golf he wants, just saying. Let's go to Julie. Julie's next on PTL. What's up, Julie?
I'm pretty speechless ever since I heard you say that Trump wants to go with go to war with Iran. That will only make prices go up.
Absolutely.
Higher.
Yeah. Oil prices.
That's the only thing that will benefit.
You know, you're so Julie, I agree with you. And Ron Filipowski mentioned that earlier. But Julie, here's what I'm even more concerned about. And you're right about that. I'm concerned about an attack on U.S. soil. There are a lot of crazy people all over the world, and this would give crazy people in Iran the opportunity to execute a terrible attack on the United States of America. That's what I would be more concerned about. But you're right. Oil prices would go through the roof as well. We were told by the Trump administration and Donald Trump when he ran for office the second time, no tax on tips. I'm going to lower the price of gas, lower the price of inflation. And of course, he said he would be a no war president and he'd be a peace president. Well, it's turning out again to be the opposite of everything that he said. Everything.
I'm also scared about attack on U.S. soil because I don't want his freaking 9/11 here in Nashville. I'm nearby the downtown.
Well,
Like, I live near downtown, so I'm
Yeah.
freaking scared.
Of course, everybody should be scared, but I don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, but I can guarantee you, if something like that did happen, Donald Trump would blame Joe Biden. But that's
He
what
would.
I don't
Sure.
know. I don't know what's going to happen here in the next couple weeks. I don't know. I can tell you this, that if Iran is not willing to negotiate at all with Israel, Netanyahu will continue to pressure Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will give. So that
He
is,
could try to use this
yeah.
to run another freaking term. That's what dawned on me yesterday.
Yeah.
He could use this to run another term for
Yeah.
wartime.
Yeah. Well, as people out there will say that, I'm gaslighting people, tell that to the people in Israel and to the people in Iran right now. Tell that to the people that are living in Ukraine right now. Tell that to the people in this country that are living paycheck to paycheck, that are worried that they're going to be losing their Medicare. Tell that to the people in this country that are struggling to get by, to put food on the table. And then the Trump administration is threatening to take not only their health care away, but their food benefits away, their food stamps away. No, I'm not gaslighting at all. I'm telling the truth. And the people that think they are that I'm gaslighting are the people that are complicit, that watch Newsmax all day. Thank you for the call, Julie. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283. I Hate MAGA and Trump is a great name on my YouTube channel. Honored to have him up there with a donation. He says, I love you, Brian. Well, I love you back, my friend. And I love your name, by the way. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. What's going on, Mark?
Hey, Brian. I have my opinion on the conflict with Iran and Israel. But first, I wanted to mention that Midas Touch Network,
yeah,
they're not as much of an angel as many people think. They're taking in, which is good for them, over $50 million a year, but they hooked up with a company called Arena Group, and they are owned by a MAGA CEOs. And they silenced Jessica Denson, who happened to be crawled out of the MAGA rabbit hole and is now having her own podcast because they threw her off the Midas Touch Network.
Well, listen, I can't speak to that. Here's what I can tell you.
I understand, but I have one more thing.
Okay, but hold on. Here's what I can tell you. There are a lot of good people at Midas Touch. Ron Filipowski is one of them. Now, we can talk about where money's funneling in and all this other stuff, but the bottom line is their message as a whole. People like Adam Mockler and of course, the brothers and Ron Filipowski. There's a lot of good people at Midas Touch, and I think that they are spreading truth to power, which I think is very important. So we can get into the trenches.
Up with some bad companies.
Well, even if that was true, that they hooked up with some quote unquote bad companies, I still like the information that they put out, and I think that's important. I'd rather them be out there and be doing what they're doing now than not being out there at all. But go ahead with your second.
Fair enough, Brian.
Okay.
There is a podcast, and I would like everybody to check it out. Jay Reed, Jayreed.
Yeah.
And yesterday he put out a video about, and it's not a narrative. It shows the actual farmer burning his crops, and another farmer who said that American workforce does not have the bodies built to work in my crops, and a person who actually owns a huge company, and the entire immigrant workforce walked off the job, and now his company is going under because the building next door was raided. And he says, look, I got a ton of jobs here, white boys, come and help me, and none of you are coming. So Jay Reed, check out his podcast.
I'll check it out.
As far as the war, Brian,
Yep.
as far as the war, let me tell you something. The United States is not going to get involved, and I'll just give it to you quick and easy.
Okay.
Putin has given the order that the United States is not to enter the conflict because he is allied with the Iranians, and China is also allied with Iranians.
That could be true. That could be true. We're going to find out.
He will not enter it because he got his walking orders.
Well, we will see. That very well could be true, Mark. But I can tell you right now, I am extremely frightened at the possibility that we could be going to war with Iran. We'll have to wait and see what happens, Mark. I appreciate your call. We'll go to Brenda in the YouTube super chat who says, how can I ask a black person think the same about celebrating July 4th when the administration's dismissing Juneteenth and Martin Luther King? I completely agree with you. That's a very good point you make, Brenda, in the YouTube super chat. We're supposed to be, honoring July 4th and all the brave men and women that served, which I do every year. Absolutely. But why should we do that if the Trump administration says we shouldn't be celebrating Juneteenth by their own behavior? And what Caroline Levitt said today, they're literally doing nothing to celebrate this day. It's sick. It's disgusting. It is a racist cult group, which is the Trump administration and their followers and their supporters, and I stand by it. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Let's go to Warren. Warren is next up on PTL. Hello, Warren.
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
Good. What's on your mind?
Not much. I just phoned you. I've seen you for the very, very first time last night on YouTube. I'm telling you, you're so spot on. I just love you. So
Thank you.
I think you're the best one out there.
Thank you.
Just keep it going, man. You speak the honest truth. All the stuff you've been hitting about your political arena down there this year, it's happening, and you guys so spot on. I love you. I grew up with the American border, Manitoba, North Dakota border, right on the border. My grandmother came from the United States, and I love the United States so much, but it's hard the last little while to not see, what's going on. And I just wish everybody else would be able to wake up. And you're a true American. You are not against America. You are trying to show people America that they need to just wake up a little bit.
Warren, first of all, thank you for your kind comments. I appreciate you. Isn't it frustrating? Because I hear this every day, because I criticize Donald Trump and I'm worried about the direction that this country is headed, that somehow that means I hate America, which, by the way, couldn't be further from the truth. I care very deeply. Yeah, I care very deeply about this country, as I'm sure you do as well. And the fact that there's that some people think that there should be no checks and balances for the president, that he has full immunity, means that they hate America and they don't respect the rule of law. So they're the ones that hate America, not us.
That's right. That's 100% right. I picked you up on YouTube talking about the tariffs out in Canada. They're at 200%. There's one guy's going off. No. You guys need this stuff. You're buying it off us. We just sell it. You want it, we sell it.
Right.
And now he's supposed to. All you do is taxing people. It's just so out of control down there. But I was so happy to hear you yesterday. I'm going to keep following you on YouTube all the way through.
Thank you, my friend.
I think you're so spot on.
Thank you, my friend.
Okay,
I appreciate you. You have a great rest of your day, my friend. And, part of the reason why I do the show is for people like you. And I really do appreciate your kind words. Thank you to Michael on the YouTube super chat who says, if Trump wants to ruin Iran, he should move there and run for office. Love from Toronto. Michael, I would be such a happy human being if I woke up tomorrow and found out that Donald Trump wanted to move to Iran and stay there. I'd feel like I won the lottery. I really would. And take his entire administration with him, put him on a plane like Ron DeSantis did, give them a bunch of brochures and a free $10 gift certificate to McDonald's. But Donald Trump couldn't get a job at McDonald's because he's a 34-count felon. Thank you for your contribution. Michael on the YouTube super chat. Let's go to Jerry. Jerry is next up on PTL. Hey, Jerry, what's going on?
Well, happy
Jerry, go right. You cut out a little bit there. Go right ahead.
Oh, happy Juneteenth to you, brother.
Thank you.
You sound like you.
Jerry, your phone is. Hold on, Jerry, your phone's going in and out. Are you there?
Are you there?
Yeah,
Are you there, Brian?
We're here, Jerry. So what's on your mind today?
Yeah.
Jerry, it sounds like you're on an Obama phone.
I am on an Obama phone. I got it from June 19th, 2022.
Very funny. So, Jerry, hold on. Don't hang up on Jerry. Jerry is obviously a racist. He has some bad reception, but I don't want to hang up on Jerry. So, Jerry, can you please explain to my 200,000 plus listeners why you dislike African Americans? Why would you make a statement like that, Jerry?
I am African American. What you talking about, boy?
Okay, well, it certainly doesn't sound like that based on a derogatory statement that you just made about Juneteenth.
Juneteenth is my birthday.
Okay, so is this a serious phone call, or are you just calling in to troll? Because, Juneteenth is a
What the hell you think? I'm calling you, boy.
Okay, so first of all, I'm not boy. My name is Brian. I'm a 45-year-old man, and I think you're an imbecile. So if you want to call into this show and you want to make jokes about Juneteenth, I would say that you're the boy. And a school child wouldn't even make jokes about this. So my question to you, sir, is how can you be a middle-aged man, I'm assuming you are, and make a joke about Juneteenth? Why do you think Juneteenth is funny?
Birthday.
I don't care whether it's your birthday. I don't care. Your birthday is irrelevant. Why are you making jokes about why don't you be quiet and listen, boy? You want to call me boy? You're the boy. Why would you make jokes about Juneteenth? You take your little Trump fingers and you use your Obama phone to call into a show and you think you're funny? I don't care when your birthday is. I could care less. You think Juneteenth, you think it's funny to make jokes about Juneteenth? Go ahead as we pod you back up. Do you think Juneteenth is funny?
More than an idiot.
Exactly. I think we know who the idiot is. Have a nice day, jackass. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Grandma, who's calling in next. Grandma, what's going on?
Oh, nothing. I'm glad to see you and meet you, and I've been a great fan of yours.
Thank you.
And I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I have a lot of grandkids, and I just adopted you to be one of my grandkids too.
Well, I'm honored to hear you say that, my dear. Thank you so much. Can I ask you a question? What do you make of the fact that Donald Trump and his administration are literally doing nothing for Juneteenth today? They pretty much said that, as Caroline said on the podium, and this comes in the same week where Donald Trump got rid of a Martin Luther King Jr. statue in the Oval Office. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel bad because, you know, I'm a black woman, and next month I'll be 75, and it makes me feel bad. And then too, I get scared and panicky. And my son and my brother tell me don't panic because it's like they were talking about the death cells. You know, the Iranians could, you know, you be anywhere and you get a bomb or something. You know, I'm just scared.
What would you say to black people in America, whether it be the Byron Donalds of the world or the Tim Scotts of the world, or just maybe the 20% of male voters who happen to be black who voted for Trump? What would you say to them today, a day where Donald Trump and his administration refused to commemorate Juneteenth? What would you say to them?
I say, okay, brother, you just made a mistake. Admit you made a mistake, and let's move on. Let's get the United States back like it's supposed to be and help everybody like we are supposed to do all over the United States and the world.
Yeah, I think that's well said. This is not making America great again. This is bringing us back 50, 60, 70 years during the civil rights movement. That's what Donald Trump is doing as we speak, as he continues to deport brown people with no due process, as he continues to allow white people from South Africa who are refugees to come to this country. But if you're a brown person, oh no, they're going to, Tom Homan and his ICE staffers are going to arrest you coming out of a courtroom. That's the country that we're living in now. And by the way, make no mistake about it, this guy Padilla, if Padilla was white, do you think Kristi Noem and Trump's administration would have treated him the same way? I'm not so sure about that. Padilla being pushed to the ground and handcuffed. We had this New York City mayoral candidate who was just helping these migrants who were in the courtroom that were scared, and then he gets arrested. Is this the America that we want? Because if this is the America that you want, if this is the America that we want for our kids and our grandkids, then there's something wrong with you.
Yep, I'll go along with that 100%. Every time when I see something like that, it makes me cry and scared. And like you said, just, you know, where are we going? Just feeling like we're just going in a spiral. And I'm just scared.
Well, I am scared as well, my dear. And I am with you 150%. And I do appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much for your call.
Okay, then.
We're going to try to
taking my call.
You got it. We're going to try to get through this together. And again, usually people who use the term race baiting are the same people who are white, usually 99% of the time, who don't believe systemic racism exists in this country. So you guys have zero credibility, okay? That's number one. Number two, explain to me, if you think I'm race baiting, explain to me why Donald Trump wouldn't put out a statement about Juneteenth. No proclamation, nothing. Would take him 5 seconds. Explain to me a legitimate reason why they got rid of a Martin Luther King Jr. statue that was in the Oval Office. Give me one legitimate reason why they did that. And then we'll see who the race baiter is. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you do want to be a part of the conversation. All right, let's see here. Who do we have next? Let's go to Rob. Rob is next on PTL. Hello, Rob.
Hi. Yeah, I think Donald Trump has been racist for ages. Anybody who doesn't know that must be crazy or something, because I look at that Central Park 5 case. Yeah, and then he wanted to turn around and accuse those boys all over again after they already were found innocent. You know, I don't get it. I mean, the guy's a dead-heart racist. He has to be.
I think it
if
is
he's
very
doing
clear. It is very clear based on his behavior. And I ask anybody who does not think Donald Trump is racist 2 very simple questions today. Question number 1, why did he remove a Martin Luther King Jr. statue that was put in the Oval Office? Number 2, why is he not saying anything and they're not commemorating in any way, shape, or form Juneteenth? Can anybody come up with a logical reason other than the fact of what you just said, that he's a racist?
Oh, and the other logical thing is he competes. He sees Martin Luther King as a competitor, even though the man is already dead. He competes with Trump in terms of popularity among the people. So that bothers him. He's a narcissist.
You are so
that's the way
correct.
they act.
You are so correct with what you just said.
Yeah.
Whether it be Colin Powell, the day he died, whether it be John McCain, the war hero, and he said he didn't respect McCain because he was captured. Anybody who's actually accomplished something, because we know Donald Trump hasn't accomplished anything except abusing women his entire life and lying and criminal activity. You know, anybody that actually is an articulate, intelligent person who's accomplished a lot, including, black women like Jasmine Crockett. They find people like her a big threat to them. So you're absolutely right about that, my friend, and I appreciate you. And you make a very valid point here. He is competing with anybody, but make no mistake about it. If you're a brave man or woman who has served or continues to serve this country, you're a hero. Donald Trump is a draft dodger. If you're a woman, especially a woman of color, who made something of your life, like a Kamala Harris, you are the opposite of Donald Trump. You're educated, you're tough, you're intelligent, you're savvy. And you weren't handed a $500 million company by your father. Oh, yeah, by the way, Fred Trump wasn't mentioned on Father's Day by anybody in the Donald Trump administration. I wonder why that is. As we go back to the YouTube super chat, CS says the Trump administration announced plans to reconsider the ban on asbestos as revealed in a new court filing. FYI, Russia is currently the world's top asbestos exporter. P.S. Love your show. CS, doesn't surprise me one bit. This is all about money. If we go to war with Iran, it's going to be all about money. It's why George W. Bush and Dick Cheney went to war in Iraq. It wasn't faulty intelligence. They lied to us. It's the one thing that Donald Trump said on a debate stage where he was absolutely telling the truth. The Bush family lied to the American people. Now Donald Trump is doing the exact same thing. Yes, Donald Trump is officially now a warmonger, and he is lying to the American people. The Israeli government is inflating their intelligence and manipulating Donald Trump, which we know is very simple to do. Just ask Stormy Daniels. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Pastor Ruthie, who's next up on PTL. Hello, Pastor Ruthie.
Hey, what you up to?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
What's on your mind?
Well, I want to tell you, I'm a Desert Storm vet, and I believe that every strong woman, I just got my chaplainship. That's my grandson there.
Mm-hmm.
He don't like Trump either. And he's 9 months old, so that tells you he's got more common sense. What scares me is that the border on Canada, there's a lot of Iranians that live there. It won't take nothing for them to cross over. And we have another 9/11.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. Yep.
And we have a lot of service men and women that are getting out because of the stupidity of him. So are we going to have another draft?
I think it's very possible. I don't put anything off the table. So I completely think that is a possibility. Listen, here's what we know now. Donald Trump's been in office, about 4 months, give or take. And
You're right.
In that time frame, we have this new situation And when I say new situation, listen, there's always been a situation in the Middle East between Israel, the Palestinians, Iran, but now a situation where we might be getting involved in a war with them. We have the situation in Ukraine where more innocent women and children are losing their lives. They're no closer to a deal now than they were on day one.
Right.
And we have people that are getting arrested outside of courtrooms, people that are undocumented immigrants, and people that are not getting due process that are being sent to El Salvador prisons.
Right.
This is not Joe
And I was
Biden's
raised
fault.
by a
This is
Hispanic-
all Donald Trump's fault.
Right. And I was raised by a Hispanic stepfather.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I'm and I'm Irish and Sean the Indian.
Yeah.
So, you know, I see things that, and I got into an argument with somebody because of it, and I just, you know, look, you know, and then they want to use the Bible. Okay, wait a minute. Let's leave the Bible out of it. What will happen, and it's up to God, not up to us.
These people don't even know the separation between church and state. A guy, by the way, like a Ted Cruz, doesn't even understand or know how many people, the population of Iran. He doesn't know the makeup of it. And Tucker Carlson completely embarrasses this guy. And these are the people that have control over whether we go to war or not. I mean, it's sick. I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. Let's go to Carl. Carl is next up on PTL. Hi, Carl.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
Listen, this is kind of important. I'll be real quick. On the Juneteenth thing you're talking about, why are people so don't understand the racist nature behind Trump? Because let me explain something. Psychologically, when you're a child and say your father or mother, but generally Trump's father was an extreme racist.
Sure.
You know that.
Yep.
He was with the Ku Klux Klan. He was arrested at a rally. You know, there's a whole bit. You know, by the time you were a teenager, it's already ingrained in your psyche that what you're going to be. And it is with him. It doesn't matter what he says or what, but just watch what he does and some of the things that come out. He is definitely, it's all in his psychological makeup, and it can't be changed. When you're a racist and you're raised by a racist, you're going to become a racist. Generally, 98% of the time.
Oh, I agree. We know
And
Fred. We know Fred Trump was a blatant racist. Carl, you're completely 100% correct. He's a sick narcissist, a mentally ill individual, and yes, I do believe what Jasmine Crockett said is factually accurate. At this point, if you're still all in 100% with Donald Trump, then there's something mentally not right with you. Thank you for the call, Carl. Let's go to Dr. Rich, who's next up on PTL. Hello, Dr. Rich.
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
Good.
Listen, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
You know, I just came across you recently, and it's wonderful to see a young man that's so well informed.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Not so young, unfortunately, but thank you for the
well,
compliment.
You're young compared to me. I'm 71. So listen, there's so many things we can talk about, but one of the latest things that is really getting under my skin is the fact that Trump cut the suicide prevention hotline funding for the LGBTQ people. Now, you know, I believe everyone has a right to, you know, be whatever they want to be and have and people to make those decisions. They need help. Okay. And let's face it, teenagers statistically take their lives more often than we'd like to hear about it. And the fact that the administration ends up cutting funding like this, it's just, you know, how many deaths is Trump responsible for? It seems like every time I turn around, there's something else going on that's killing people, like he did with the USA aid funding. You know, I mean, it's, I don't know. I grew up at a time in the 60s when, you know, we were marching for civil rights. By the way, we just marched this weekend on Saturday, my wife and I.
Good for you. I think that's great.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can't imagine how you must feel as an African American living in the United States of America today when our own president's own press secretary says that they're not doing literally anything for Juneteenth. There's going to be no proclamation. No statement.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Absolutely. You know, although I'm a white male, but I grew up in very poor circumstances, and I made something of myself. But the thing is that I marched in the '60s, and I actually was not. I'm very naive and at a point thinking that I thought this was all behind us.
I thought so too. Why is it, though, that the Trump administration won't celebrate Juneteenth, but they seem to celebrate right-wing fringe groups and Proud Boy members, and he tells the Proud Boy members to stand back and stand by, which we know is a well-known hate group. And yet, if you're an insurrectionist who beat police officers, a white supremacist, you get pardoned, and even worse, you're called a hero and a hostage.
Yeah. And yet he puts people in to support him, like Chrissy, wait a second, like Chrissy Noem, who doesn't even know what habeas corpus means.
No, they don't even know what it says in the Constitution. If not, they try to change the wording in the Constitution. It's sick.
We are living in a WTF moment. And, I hate that, my kids have to go through this. Like I said, I'm very naive. I actually thought, we're better than this.
Well, unfortunately, my friend, I will say this, and you can tell me whether you agree or not. I do think that the majority of Americans are better than this. Sadly, there are way too many Americans in this country that are extremely ill-informed, and they're brainwashed by the right-wing propaganda machine, whether it be a Sean Hannity, Fox News, Jesse Waters, OAN Newsmax. These are very, very bad people, and they're very dangerous people. And I never thought, I always thought to myself, there's a lot of people in the United States of America that are maybe not the brightest bulbs in the world, but maybe not so naive and brainwashed. And that's what I am shocked by as I watch the news and listen to the news every single day and right-wing media. I'm just amazed that people believe the stuff that they say. I'm amazed.
Yeah, I am too. And part of it is misinformation. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of bots and manipulation that's occurring on people's cell phones, and that's where they get their information. And there's people that don't even tune in the news, and there's people that don't even vote. I mean, I know some very well-educated people to go, I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to, whoever it gets in, and it's like, and then I can't understand it because I've always been politically active, and it just blows my mind. People died for our right to get out there. And unfortunately, a lot of people during the last election had a problem with voting for an intelligent black woman. It's I don't understand that.
I don't understand it either, but you and I don't care whether what's between your legs or what the color of your skin is. We want the best person.
I don't give a shit.
But that's okay. But and I appreciate the call, Doc. Thank you so much. That's the problem with so many people in this country, in my personal opinion, who voted for Donald Trump. They can say they didn't care that Kamala was a woman. They can say they don't care what the color of her skin is, but deep down inside they did. That's the truth, my friend, and I appreciate the phone call. Let's go to Alessandro, who's next up on PTL. Hello, Alessandro.
Hey, Brian, what's going on, man? How you doing?
How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind today?
Dude, I'm just sad, mad, just pissed off, man. I mean, who are we? Where did we go wrong? I know it happened 10 years ago. I'm an immigrant myself, came here from Italy when I was 7. Saw my parents work their asses off for all those years, and I'm glad that our communities are coming together. We got to resist. Did you see what happened today outside of Dodger Stadium?
I did not. Tell me.
ICE pulled up to the gates.
Oh, no.
I think they were getting ready for a day game.
Oh.
ICE were pulling up to the gates, and fans stood their ground, right? They got up, they got in front of ICE, and LAPD drove them away, right? We got to keep resisting, man. It's a shitty world because of one freaking guy, and it bothers me, man. And you know why this shit's happening? They're animals, Brian. They're animals.
Well, and they're treating they're treating human beings as animals. Let's be very clear on that. So this is a very difficult. So this is a very difficult thing to talk about. But if ICE individuals who are armed, by the way, if you are physical with them, they can use deadly force. I don't want people to be hurt, but I also understand the resistance, and I understand what you're speaking of as well. It's a very, very volatile and difficult situation. I don't recognize the America that I grew up in. What are we doing as a country when ICE agents are outside of courtrooms? This is how stupid the Trump administration is. Let's just say for a moment they actually really cared about this country and they cared about, if they really didn't want undocumented immigrants in this country, then why would you deter them from going to a court date? You have people now in this country that are undocumented that are afraid to go to court because they think ICE is going to pick them up. So why would they do that? I'll tell you why, because these are bad people who have no empathy. When I see these videos of families being separated and a young man who was walking out of the courtroom and his girlfriend crying and following him, not knowing if she would ever see him again, they're cruel. Okay, when Joe Biden and Barack Obama deported people, they didn't have Dr. Phil there trying to get ratings off of it. They weren't gloating and they weren't bragging about it, okay? The Democrat Party is a party that has always tried to make it easier for people to come into this country legally. And then you have the right who continue to think it's okay for it to take 10 or 15 years to become a naturalized citizen. There's one party that actually wants people all over the world, and then there's the other party that wants this to be America white again. It's very simple based on the way they vote.
Yeah, they're animals, and now it's starting at sporting events. You know what I mean? They tried today, but luckily enough, we resisted. They resisted, and they drove them away. But listen, thanks for what you do, man. I got to go, but
appreciate it.
Thank you. Keep it up. You
Thank you,
are
sir.
the man, and we can get through this, America. We can get through it.
We will. Please call back, sir, and thank you for what you do and your family. And we want more people like you in this country. At least I do, and I actually mean it when I say that. Let's go to John. John is next up on PTL. What's up, John?
Hi, excuse me. Hi, Brian. Thank you for doing what you do.
Sure.
And I just want to call it what it is, the white supremacy house, because that's what it is. And I think congressional Republicans should be imprisoned, all congressional Republicans, because they're in a position where they could stop this dictatorship anytime, but they refuse to do so. They just let it keep going.
And the only
on.
reason why they continue to do so is because they want to remain in power themselves, and they put themselves before the country. Let me tell you something. When you run for office as an elected official, you are supposed to be working for your constituents. You are not supposed to be working for yourself. You don't put your party first. You don't put self first. You put America first. It's the opposite of when Trump says America first. It's America last, and it's orange orangutan first. That's exactly what this administration is.
That's right. Congressional Republicans are true cowards in every sense of the word. And by the way, on this Juneteenth, I want to give a shout out to all Black women, because to me, Black women are heroes. I've been saying that, and I'll continue to say that. And I appreciate and admire the way they try to save this country. It's unfortunate they get undermined too much by white people, especially by white women.
Some of the most educated people in society are Black women, my friend. I appreciate your call. And might I also add that 93% of Black women, 93% did not vote for Donald Trump. So I agree with everything you just said. And the fact that the Trump administration, and we are living in a country where they don't even want to talk about Juneteenth, they don't even want to mention it. These are the times we are living in today, and we cannot normalize it. Donald Trump and his entire family, as far as I am concerned, are a bunch of racist bigots. This isn't an opinion. It's a fact based on behavior. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to D. D is next up on PTL. What's going on, D?
Hello, how you doing today?
Hey, good, D. What's on your mind?
Oh, man, I was listening a little bit about Israel. My thing is, how can another country tell another country what type of weapons that they need to have?
Well,
it seems like the United States, France, and Britain, all these countries seem like these countries want to tell the world, what kind of gun they're supposed to have, who in the Middle East should be in power,
Yeah, so D, I hear what you're saying, but I think you would agree with me that the weapon you're speaking of is very different than weapons of mass destruction, right?
Yeah. Well, no. With the nuclear bomb, nobody don't need no nuclear bomb.
Of course not.
So,
So I think there's a way of handling that without going to war based on iffy, faulty intelligence from the Israeli government, because clearly Benjamin Netanyahu wants Donald Trump and the United States to get involved because it benefits them. We cannot enter another ill-advised war. We learned that from George W. Bush, and if MAGA Republicans haven't learned that by now, then they're imbeciles. How many people did we lose because of the war in Iraq? Because we were told there were going to be weapons of mass destruction. We saw Saddam Hussein in a hole in the ground with a candy bar and a BB gun. And yet we were led, and listen, the world's a better place without Saddam Hussein. I would never say otherwise. But they were not a threat to the United States of America. They did not have weapons of mass destruction. And I believe the Israeli government is lying to Donald Trump because he can easily be manipulated.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. But Israel was the aggressor in this situation. They went over there and shot. They went over there and did the shooting. According to what I'm seeing on the news, and another thing, I hate that the Hispanic people being attacked by ICE the way they are, but they voted for this. They voted.
Some of them did, not all of them, though. To be fair,
not all of them,
yeah,
but
some
the
did.
mass of the people that voted, they voted for this.
So there are a lot of people in this country that vote against their own self-interest. I agree with you there, but it breaks my heart.
What happened is they thought they had assimilated in this country. They thought they had assimilated, and they were voting for policies, and they got a wake-up call that they weren't ready to get.
I will say this, though. A lot of the people that are undocumented, they are not legally allowed to vote. Now, maybe members of their family did vote for Trump. That's possible. But it breaks my heart to see these people outside of courtrooms that are being handcuffed.
I don't think people should be going to the court, churches, and ICE agents should be going to pick up people at the courthouses and stuff. But the Hispanic community, when we have our struggle, they ought to have been 10 toes down with us, because now they need us.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you, my friend, and I appreciate the call. We'll work on some of the audio issues that we are having. I don't know what those audio issues are, but our producer will work on that. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. All right, let's see. Who are we going to next here? Let's see. Let's look at who we're going to next here. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next on PTL. Hey, Dave, what's going on?
Yeah, Brian, first and foremost, welcome back from your vacation.
Thank you.
I know it's a couple days though, but still, and I hope Numchuck was able to get all that lotion rubbed on you from any of your birds. But, sorry, I had to say it.
That's okay. Luckily, it wasn't Numchuck that was putting lotion on me. But anyway, that's another story. Go right ahead.
So I got a really good question, and this has been something that's been bugging me since Trump decided to say, "Hey, look at me! I'm putting up these flagpoles," and I'm sitting there and I'm chewing on it. And one of my neighbors, who's a military vet, just said the same thing, and he's like, "How big of an idiot can these Trumpies and Trump and all of them be?" You're probably like, "Okay, what?" You do realize Trump has. Why do you think we've never put flags on the north and south side of between the White House?
You tell me. Why do you think?
I can tell you why. Because now you've just painted a gigantic target for anybody that's going to come over here to attack us for the White House. Because now you've given two markers.
Mm-hmm. I will say this, though, and as Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch said earlier in the show, interest rates are up, the prices are rising everywhere, GDP is down, and we could be going to war with Iran. And Donald Trump and members of his staff are retweeting flagpoles that are put up at the White House because they think that's this wonderful accomplishment. I think it speaks volumes as to where their heads are at. And the world is on fire. We got wars everywhere. Inflation is up. But you have Sebastian Gorka tweeting out, bragging about flagpoles that were put up. It's very similar. Do you remember when, I think she's the former first lady because I don't think we've seen Melania Trump in the White House. But Melania Trump on January 6th was installing new rugs in the White House and furniture. And she was asked that day, can you please put out a tweet or something to end the violence? And she said no. Donald Trump is exactly the same person. These are just despicable people.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just I'm sitting here going, and he was telling me this, and I'm just looking at his military parade and everything else. And I'm like, how the heck can anybody still support this man? Is beyond me anymore.
Multiple reasons: ignorance, ill-informed, racist, bigoted, or selfish. I think pick or choose. It could be all of the above. There's a lot of different reasons why people still support Donald Trump. Pick or choose which one. I have different people that I know that are in my life, and they're all in different categories, my friend. They really are.
Well, it's good to hear you. Had a good vacation. I just want to say again, welcome back, and hope you have a good weekend coming up.
Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And we have more misinformation from a MAGA Republican on social media that is saying that inflation is down. No, it's not. Inflation is back up to over 3%. You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. But I'm not surprised, because if you watch Newsmax, OAN, or Fox News, you believe everything that they say. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Kay. Kay is next up on PTL. Hello, Kay. What's on your mind today?
Well, hello and welcome back from vacay. I hope you
thank
enjoyed yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're very welcome. And I have a few thoughts. The first one is about Juneteenth. It really comes down to education, because if people knew that all the times that we tried to build Black communities like Black Wall Street, and they were bombing us on our own soil. So we did try to keep, building and building, but every time we were always pulled back. And what are they doing? They're still removing our history by removing books that tell about the struggles of Black people, what we've gone through. They're basically rewriting the history. And I just really feel like that is a problem. The fact that people are not educated and taking the things away that would give them the education.
Here's the problem, and I don't speak for all white people, okay? But here's what I can tell you, my own personal. I listen to people like you. I listen, I try to learn, I try to be educated. And what I try to say to some of these MAGA people, predominantly white, is I don't know what it's like to be pulled over because of the color of my skin. I don't know what it's like to be followed in a store because somebody thinks I'm going to steal because of the color of my skin. I don't know what it's like to be treated differently because of what I look like. And I try to listen to others that have had to go through that, unfortunately. And Juneteenth is such an important day in our history. And the fact that not just Trump and his administration, but so many of his supporters are totally okay with not speaking about Juneteenth, not even honoring Martin Luther King. This comes the same week, as I mentioned, where Donald Trump got rid of a Martin Luther King statue that was put in the Oval Office by Barack Obama. Now, why would he do that? I'll tell you why.
Exactly.
Besides being racist, they don't care. They don't care about Martin Luther King. They don't care about the civil rights movement. And make no mistake about it, when they say make America great again, many, maybe not all, but many of the people that say make America great again want to go back to the days where Black people had to use different drinking fountains, when Black people couldn't vote, when women couldn't vote, when Black people had to sit in the back of a bus. Some of these people won't admit it, but when they hear make America great again, that's what twirls around in their head, and they love it. They love it.
It actually, it's what we think as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we understand that. And then another thing, why is it that people's memories are so short? If he couldn't call the guard on J6, but could on mostly peaceful protests in California, why are they not putting this together? Is there something that I'm missing there?
No, I don't think there is. I think it's very, very simple. They know that what took place in LA were a mix of different people and different races and different backgrounds. I would imagine that many of them are not supporting Donald Trump. If you don't support Donald Trump and you're committing a misdemeanor, they want you to spend 20 years in jail. You're called a terrorist. But if you are white and you are a Trump supporter and you beat police officers on January 6th, not only do you get a pardon, but you're labeled a hero, a patriot, and a hostage. Why is that? Well, I say, besides supporting Trump, it might just have something to do with the color of skin. That's what I think.
Well, you know what? I appreciate you listening and educating us. I love how you throw shade at the people that just can't get it right, after you explain it so many different ways. We appreciate what you do, and I hope that you have a great day, and please be safe.
Thank you. You as well, my dear, and you're welcome to call back anytime. Let's go to Eddie. Eddie is next up on PTL. Hello, Eddie.
Educate us, Brian. What is Juneteenth?
You want me to educate you on what Juneteenth is?
Do you need a minute to think?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't need a minute to think. I'm asking you. You don't know what Juneteenth is?
60% of Americans don't know what it is. So
okay, well then
explain
60% of Americans are morons like you, and I'm not going to waste my time explaining to some idiot jackass like you what Juneteenth is. You are white. Are you? Are you not? Are you not white, sir? You're white, aren't you?
I'm white like your
Thank
last
you.
girlfriend.
Okay, okay. You have no idea what the race of my last girlfriend was, and that's a very stupid, ignorant statement from a very stupid
It was
man.
a white
So,
dog.
okay, okay. So you're calling in because you want me to try to educate you on what Juneteenth is, and then you're calling me the ignorant person. So, Eddie, I'll throw it back on you because you don't sound like you're an extremely intelligent person, because you're not. And I don't know what the race of my last girlfriend has to do with the conversation. Also, a very strange statement that you made, Eddie. Eddie, are you okay with Donald Trump and his administration not even mentioning Juneteenth and talking about it? Are you okay with that, sir?
I'm going to do like you say.
No, 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 no. You're not going to do like I say. You're going to answer my question. I'm going to ask it again, okay? And by the way, the reason why nobody knows what the race of your last girlfriend is probably because no woman has ever touched you in your entire life. But that's another story for another show. So I'll ask you again, Eddie, because you sound like a very intelligent person. Are you okay? And answer the question directly or the phone call's over. Are you okay with Donald Trump and his administration not even bringing up Juneteenth or commemorating it? Are you okay with that? Yes or no?
Because you don't know what Juneteenth is.
All right, so you're not going to answer. You're not going to answer the question, are you, Eddie? You're not going to answer the question. So if you're not going to answer the question, then there's really no point in continuing the conversation, is it, Eddie? Why did you call into the show? Tell me why you called into the show. If you called into the show and you had an opinion about Juneteenth, then I'm happy to listen to your opinion. But you're calling into the show, commenting on what the color is of my ex-girlfriend, which shows that you're an ignoramus. You're a moron, Eddie. Do you have anything you'd like to say in this conversation of any form of intelligence at all? Or should I move on to the next caller, Eddie, okay? Do you want to ask me what the Holocaust? Here it is. Do you want to ask me what the Holocaust is? Do you want to ask me what July 4th is? You know, you're an idiot. Just get off my show. You're a complete moron, and I can guarantee you a third grader knows more about history than you do. Good luck, by the way, Eddie, at your Klan rally tonight. We appreciate it. All right, let's go to Adolf. Adolf is next on PTL. Hello, Adolf.
Hi, O'Brien. Again, thank you for having me.
Wait, did you just start this call by saying Heil?
So what I'd like to do right now...
Did I hear that right, listeners? Did I hear that right? Okay, maybe I misheard you, but go ahead.
What I'd like to do right now is tell you that I just saw a poll that said that Kwanzaa and Juneteenth are considered less of a holiday than Toyotathon. That's hilarious.
Do you think Juneteenth is funny?
I think it's considered less of a holiday than Toyotathon.
Why do you think that's funny? Do you understand the people that lost their lives? Do you understand the significance of that day? Why do you think that's funny? Why do you think it's why would you make a joke of what took place on Juneteenth? I'm trying to understand, Eddie. Why are you laughing? Can you tell us why you're laughing?
I think it's funny. You weren't alive. I wasn't alive. So what's it? Let's.
So if we weren't alive, if we weren't alive, that makes it okay.
That's correct. Brian, can I finish up?
Do you think the Holocaust was funny? Because that didn't happen in our lifetime either.
That's correct. That you are right. How does it affect us?
So you think slavery? Do you think slavery was a good thing?
I'm not saying it wasn't bad.
Well, what is Juneteenth then? What is it? Tell me what it is. What is the significance of Juneteenth then? If you don't think if you think slavery was bad, then what is Juneteenth?
Wasn't that the last day that one of them blacks were slaves and let go?
It commemorates the end of slavery. So why would you laugh at something like that? Why wouldn't you say it's a good thing?
Because it's less of a holiday than Toyotathon.
Why do you keep making that same joke over and over again? Let me guess, you're a Donald Trump supporter. Is that true?
Is that last guy Eddie? I think it was wrong that he asked you that question, so I'm going to re-ask the question for you. What was the color of your last boyfriend?
So you're a homophobe, you're a racist, and I think that if there's anybody on this show that cares about whether I'm taken or not, it would probably be you, because you probably pleasure yourself to me every night. I'm just curious, what is it like looking in the mirror every day, knowing that you are a misogynist, you are a racist, and you are homophobic? How do you live with yourself, sir, every single day, making jokes? And then he hangs up the phone like the coward he was. Thank you so much for the phone call. My goodness. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Herb. Herb is next up on PTL. Hello, Herb.
Hey, Brian, let me ask you. 20 years ago, say in 2005, did you know what Juneteenth was? Did you know about that holiday?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
You did?
What did I know about? I've seen, first of all, I've seen documentaries about that day. I learned about it when I was in high school, and I also understand, and I would assume you do as well, what it commemorates and how the significance of that day. In fact, I learned about this stuff in high school.
Did you really? Did you?
Do I stutter? Do I stutter, sir? Do I stutter?
I said, did you celebrate it? I'm saying.
Okay, what's your okay? So what's your definition of celebrating it? What's your definition?
In other words, blacks in the South celebrated Juneteenth for years. I mean, they always have.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll give you a little more time because it sounded like you just developed a Joe Biden stutter. But okay, so let me tell you my way of celebrating. Okay, sir, because I'm sure you're totally okay with Trump not even mentioning it today. But let me give you, as a white person, my definition. It's going on the air, talking about the significance of that day and what the hell that black Americans had to go through in the days of slavery, and commemorating the day when slavery ended in the United States of America, and remembering that and the atrocities and the hardships that African Americans had to go through then, and still some of the hardships that African Americans have to go through now. That's how I celebrate. What do you make of the guy who you voted for? And are you okay with Donald Trump not even mentioning the day today, let alone celebrating it, not even doing anything at all to honor Juneteenth? I answered your question. Now you answer mine.
Donald Trump was the first president to talk about it being a national holiday.
I didn't ask you about him talking about it in the past. I'm asking you about today. Herb, I need you to focus. I need you to focus, Herb, because you're not answering my question. I didn't ask you about the past. I asked you about today. How do you feel about today? Herb just hung up the telephone. Notice how Herb didn't answer my question. He tried to quiz me on 2005. He tried to quiz me on how I celebrate Juneteenth. And then when I asked him a question, after I answered his question thoroughly, and I asked him about the guy who he supports in Donald Trump, how he feels about Trump not even mentioning Juneteenth, not even talking about it. In fact, Caroline the Vet was bragging about how people were working today. Notice how he deflects. He doesn't answer the question, and then he hangs up the phone. Hey, Herb, you're just like Mike Lee and any of these MAGA Republicans. You're a coward. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Unfortunately, we are at the end of the show. I went a little bit long there with a trio of MAGA imbeciles, but we will be certainly back at it tomorrow on the program. And I appreciate everybody that's joined us. I appreciate everybody that's entered into the YouTube Super Chat. If I didn't get to any of them today, I will go to some more tomorrow. I asked all you, this is an independently owned radio show. What does that mean? And thank you, Lori, by the way, for your donation. Says Steve Miller is running the country, not Trump. Sad that we believe the world leaders instead of Trump. I agree with you, Lori, 100%. Thank you for your support. Check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live, where you can make donations. We're an independently owned show. You can buy PTL merchandise. My goal is that we pass 120,000 YouTube subscribers by the end of the night tonight. So we hope that you can make that a reality and spread the word with your friends. The more you're interactive on social media for us, the better that we are. Thank you, Immortal. who says Herb's new name is Turd. He's a real disgrace. He's not invited to the cookout. Thank you, Immortal, for that comment. It's very funny, and I appreciate that. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout.